Well, hey guys, good morning. Hope you're doing good. I want to challenge you this morning on confronting your fears. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I was thinking this morning. Years ago, and it's been probably 5 years ago now, a couple of people came to me and they said, "Hey, Big A, you should write a book." And I started laughing when they told me that. I said, "Write a book? There's nobody going to read my book." And they said, "No, really, man, you've had a lot of cool life experiences and maybe you should consider writing a book." And I immediately was afraid. I said, "Listen, I'm in a mastermind group with a bunch of folks that are very successful authors, and nobody would read my book." And a couple of these people said, maybe not a platform as big as theirs, but there are some people out there that would read your book because what's ordinary to you is extraordinary to others. And I really wished you would prayerfully consider writing a book. Well, time went on, and the more I thought about it, the more I talked myself out of it. I said, there's no way anybody's going to read one of my books. I mean, I got all these guys around me. 5 or 6 of the guys in my mastermind group were very noted authors. And quite honestly, just to be totally candid with you, I was afraid that if my book was a failure, that's the way I would look in the eyes of the guys that was in the mastermind group with me. And it was pride. It was just ego that was keeping me back. So in Dan Miller's mastermind group, we did an exercise called Come As You Will Be in 2020. So we had to get up before our entire mastermind group and we had to tell what our life was going to look like in the year 2020. And this was, 5 years prior. So we're talking about 2015. So I stood up before the group and I even shared that I'm going to be an author. And even when I said that, it made me kind of sick at my stomach. And then after I got through with my presentation, telling all the things that I was going to hopefully have accomplished and done, I said, but I got to be totally honest with you. I'm afraid to write the book. And I shared all the reasons why. I said, all these other guys are successful authors, and if my book doesn't go good, it's going to look bad on me, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, there was a guy sitting in the back of the room. His name's Ken Davis. Ken Davis wrote a book called Fully Alive that's been a huge, huge success. Ken is a national and international speaker, travels everywhere speaking. He's an incredible guy. If you've not read his book, by the way, you should read Fully Alive. And he said, "Big A, hold on a minute." He said, "You're writing the book for the wrong reason." And I said, what do you mean? He said, "When I wrote Fully Alive the first year, 17 people emailed me and said, 'Hey, I chose not to commit suicide as a result of having read your book.' He said, if one person, just one, reads your book and it transforms their life, will it not all have been worth it?" And man, that really touched me when he said that. I was like, man, how selfish of me to think about the comparison, and my pride and my ego was getting in the way. I went on to write the book, took about 18 months, published it, and about 6 months after I wrote the book, one of the guys in our community contacted me and he said, "Hey, Big A," he said, "I got to tell you something." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "I read your book and I really enjoyed it." And I thought, well, okay, good. I appreciate you telling me that. He said, "But here's what's important." He said, "My son is 21 years old." And he said, been out of school 3 or 4 years. He hasn't read a book since he graduated. He said, and quite honestly, he's kind of gone wayward. He's involved in some activities that he shouldn't be, and we're really concerned about him. And he said, "I just suggested that he read your book," knowing that he wouldn't read the book. Well, he did, because I told some stories in there, and his dad told him that I was real transparent and vulnerable in the book. And I got a note from this guy about 2 months after his son read the book, and he said that it totally transformed his life. He said now he's not involved in any of those activities anymore, and he's changed his life, and he's not doing those things. Now, I don't want to take the credit for that personally, but my point in telling you this is today that if we do things for the wrong reason, we don't get good results. But if we do things for the right reason, we get great results. Now, that young man probably would have read a different book, or his life would have gotten back on track another way. But because I went ahead and wrote the book, at least one life was transformed. Well, here's my question for you today. Who is missing out because you're afraid? And listen, I'm speaking from past experiences. I'm not the crow calling the kettle black here. I'm trying to say that there's people that need to hear your story, or there's people that you need to share with. Listen, not everybody's got a big audience. A lot of these guys that I'm around have huge audiences, and I've got a few people that watch me. You may not have but one or two people. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's your children, maybe it's your spouse. I don't know who it is, but something is holding you back today that you're afraid, and because you're afraid, that person is missing out. I just want to encourage you today. Maybe it's a book. I don't know, maybe it's a book. A lot of people want to write books, but they're afraid. They're just like I was back in 2015. There's somebody that needs to hear your story. Now, I don't know if that's on video. I don't know if it's in a book. I don't know if it's just somebody or a coworker that you can share with. I thought that guy was going to run over me. But I want to encourage you today not to be afraid. Push through that upper limit challenge, and whatever it is today, go, you know what, you're right. Take the Ken Davis approach, look at it from a different perspective and say, you know what, you're right. I was measuring it against the wrong thing. And let's go out there and rock the world. Here's the cool thing about it. If you don't do it, we'll never know. But if you do it, you'll have an opportunity to know who you might have impacted. What if it's a person that goes on to be a leader that changes the world, that got the inspiration from just one little thing that you said? Can you only imagine how amazing that would be? I think there's so many people out there today that need to hear our stories, and I think that we've got to push through fear in order to accomplish it. Well, listen, I'm Big A, coming to you live from the beautiful Station Camp Greenway on this great Thursday morning. You guys crush it. Go out there today and tackle those fears. Somebody needs to hear your story. We'll see you.